Hello everybody, and welcome back for some weekly VR news. As always, I am Mateo301, and this is your channel for everything VR related. Now it looks like things are finally heating up in the month of March, as Meta is promising smoother gameplay with their Framesync update. Luke Ross's mods are not only back, but now they're also free. The GDC Steam Frame response has been very positive, plus there's plenty of new exciting game releases, updates, and announcements. Now there are of course links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead. I only have one game on this week's list of new releases, and that's Prison Simulator VR. Now at first glance, I thought this was going to be a bar fight simulator ripoff, but it actually turns out this is a full-fledged game that was originally released on flat screen in 2021, and it's now been ported to VR. Now while the flat version wasn't very popular, it does have very positive reviews, and if the developers were able to implement some solid VR mechanics, this might turn out to be a pretty damn cool game, so let me know down in the comments if you guys want me to cover this one. Now unfortunately, like I said, that is the only game dropping this week, but we do have plenty of really exciting updates to go over, starting with the release date and new gameplay trailer for the boys. Now being 100% honest here, the reveal trailer left me a little bit concerned as to the quality of the game we would be getting. Well, I'm happy to say my concerns are now gone after seeing the gameplay trailer, and it looks like we're getting the full package. A deep storyline that has both choices and consequences, voice acting that actually includes some of the real characters from the TV show, and finally some badass combat. Or at least that's the overall vibe the trailer's giving off, so I really hope the game is as good as this trailer makes it look. Now, I'm definitely planning to cover this title when it releases next week, so make sure to subscribe and turn notifications on, and you won't miss that video. Now, we also just got release dates for two highly anticipated upcoming VR titles, including Little Nightmares and Marrow Marrow. Little Nightmares VR Altered Echoes is dropping on all major VR platforms on April 24th. This story-driven, single-player, adventure, horror, puzzle title plans to not only drop you into your worst nightmare, but also deliver the most immersive Little Nightmares experience to date. Now, for the unaware, Little Nightmares has been around as a flat-screen title for years, and it's an absolutely beloved series that I'm sure many fans would love to experience from the VR perspective. And next up, we have the roguelike shooter Marrow Marrow. Developers Monster Moon just recently gave us the first trailer for this game. There's currently a demo available on Steam, and it's listed as coming soon on both the MetaQuest and Steam VR. The game's aiming for fast-paced parkour shooter action where you dash through the air and rain hell from above your enemies. Now that type of combat can work extremely well in VR, but at this point in time, roguelike has almost become a dirty word to the VR community. Since content was so sparse in the early days of VR, most developers leaned on the roguelike or roguelite genres, and the VR gamers got sick of it quickly. But for those of you not looking to make any new purchases right now, we have plenty of updates to go over for both new and old VR games. First up, it doesn't matter if you're an OG or never tried Synth Riders at all, right now is the perfect time to jump in because they just created a brand new progression system. This new Levelup update allows you to track your personal performance and stats across gameplay, level up and display your progress over time, share milestone and compare yourself against friends, which is obviously bragging rights for not only your single player but also your multiplayer performance. So it doesn't matter if you already love this game or never tried it, now's the perfect time to check it out. But if rhythm games aren't for you, I totally get it. So how does some major updates to the survival title Strayed sound to you? Now, if you're not familiar with this title, it's basically Rust in VR. Now, this game is currently still in early access, but the first major change in the New Frontiers update is actually a price drop. You can now grab this game for $15 rather than $20, and now you have two new biomes to explore, a new temperature system, a comfort healing system, new team controls, including an ownership and promotion system, plus the ability to kick members, and finally, a massive series of balances, corrections, fixes, and performance updates. So if you were ever looking for something like Rust in VR, I highly recommend you go check out Strayed. And the next title to receive some serious improvements is the recently released Orcs Must Die by the Blade. This already excellent co-op tower defense meets hack and slash title is already pushing out major updates to address player feedback and criticism. Most importantly, the combat responsiveness has been significantly enhanced, making the vast majority of the gameplay feel much better. Now, I'm personally a huge fan of the Orcs Must Die series, but if you're looking for the same level of strategy you find in the flat games, you might be a bit disappointed here, as this game does focus significantly more on the hack and slash combat, which makes sense why the patch makes the game feel so much better, as you do spend the vast majority of time whacking enemies over the head. But let's move on from native VR games for a moment and into Luke Ross's VR mods. Now, for those of you not up to date on the VR mod scene, Luke Ross is known for creating VR mods for many of VR's biggest titles, including games like Cyberpunk 2077, Red Dead Redemption 2, Grand Theft Auto, and many other games. Now, previously, he faced takedown notices, specifically for games like Grand Theft Auto, and most recently, Cyberpunk 2077. And this is actually where things came to a head, because one thing that Luke Ross did that was already controversial was paywalling his mods that were under development. So if you wanted access to his mods, you had to go to his Patreon, pay monthly, and this spiraled into 7 million different conversations, which we can make a complete video on. But just to be brief, I know multiple things were stated about him that may or may not have been fully true. It looks like Luke had a little bit of a crash out himself, took everything down for time being, but also at the same time, he had more recent comments. The best part is the mods, minus Cyberpunk 77, are back and they are free now. You could get them, they are not paywalled, and you could contribute. I'm not getting into the whole who was right, who was wrong, what really happened. I just want to say I'm happy he works on these mods. I'm happy they're free. I'm happy he didn't fully crash out and disappear on us. I'm a little upset about the internet reaction. No one person is supposed to take that much fire at one time unless you really deserve it. Anyway, I'm just happy mods are back, okay? Let's all be one happy family. Moving on. I know it's naive to see us as one big happy family, and we definitely need some competition against Meta, who has a stranglehold on the industry right now, which is why I was really excited to see such a positive response from users who tried the Steam Frame at GDC. So there's two quick aspects I want to go over. Unfortunately, I didn't make it to GDC this year. I was planning to go, but I couldn't. But I've talked about on the live stream, our studio does actually have a Steam Frame. We've posted a picture of it. We're not sitting there testing it all day long. We are using it for development, obviously, but we completely agree with everything that's said publicly. It is a super light and comfortable headset, and no one's really supposed to talk about performance just yet, but we're happy. We're happy with what we're seeing. So I can't wait to talk about more on that and more of the game. We'll be getting back to that. But let's move on to our next topic, which is the new certification requirements for the Steam Frame. For a game running in native VR, it will need to maintain 90 Hz in order to be Steam Frame verified. Now, what does this actually mean in terms of visual quality and performance? Not much really. I've seen people speculate that, oh, games are going to look even uglier on the Steam Frame than the Quest because of this requirement, and I don't actually think that's true. Thanks to the overall performance boost, if we run an Android version of the game and compare it to the Quest version, obviously it's going to vary greatly per title, but let's say those games that run at either native 72 or 80 Hz, they're going to look the same and just be bumped up to a steady 90. And if you have a game that's already running at 90 Hz, the developers might consider slightly increasing the game's resolution or adding some extra bells and whistles. It's going to be similar to the Quest 1 to Quest 2 and Quest 2 to Quest 3 days. If developers want to really get into it and push the hardware further, they will be able to. I don't think the 90 Hz is really going to hold many people back. I know there are some games out there that run at 60 frames per second and reproject it to 120, or games that are, really struggle to maintain a steady frame rate and are somewhere between like 70 and 80. They should just look the same as the Quest version and be running smoother. I think there's even more headroom there, to be honest with you. So the people trying to say, oh, this is a negative thing that we want 90 Hz on the Steam Frame, no. And it looks like this should be, or at least what Valve is planning is, this might be the first VR headset for many people. And the higher refresh rate generally makes VR much more comfortable for people. And I feel like Valve is betting on the fact is that this will be the first VR headset for many of its users. Now, the Steam Frame will also be able to play flat screen titles, and if you want your certification there, they will need to be able to run at 720p and 30 frames per second. So to give you an example of a high-end title that might see this Steam Frame certification, we have something like The Witcher 3. This is an older AAA game that the hardware should be able to run at 720p and 30 frames per second. So while the enthusiasts rocking a 5090 and a big screen beyond 2 might not be very excited for this headset, overall, I feel like this will be the only other headset that gives anything close to the bang for the buck that you get from the Meta Quest. If you're involved in the Steam ecosystem, the Steam Deck, frame, and machine are all going to be very solid hardware. It's actually to the point that Sony fears the Steam machine, and it's the most likely reason why they're no longer bringing their first-party exclusives over. And now let's just finish today's video with a major update coming to the MetaQuest OS. They are introducing Framesync, which is a new reprojection style system to keep your gameplay as smooth as possible. Now, some of the additions that are coming in Framesync, rather than just reprojection, which would copy a frame, make 60 to 120, what we use now is designed to insert frames when we need them, but if they're not at the correct timing or late, you get some really bad situations that can ruin your experience. So you get judder when the timing is not consistent. When the frames don't come in at the exact amount of times in between, you get judder. It feels like the screen kind of shook on you. The other issue is stale frames, or when you're not getting new frames, when the screen locks. That is the type of experience that makes a lot of people in VR go, ugh. And I'm sure most of you experience this loading screen or something, it locks with your head and it's generally very uncomfortable. Well, Framesync should make all gameplay that is using some type of software to maintain frames, it should make that experience better. But if you're locked in at, 80, 90, 120, whatever it is, yeah, you don't need this technology. It's only to maintain stable frame rates and keep them as good as possible, which we've been using forever in VR. It is mandatory technology, and to see it get better and better is really important. So right now it's available to developers. It will become default in, I think, update 203. It's coming, version 203, Horizon OS 203. I think that's the correct update. It's coming and will be default for people, but we'll wait and see, and hopefully the performance is as good as they say. And that right there was today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. Thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. It means a lot to me. And of course, I'll see you guys on next time.